Yes, interdimensional means that it's beyond. It's not in the third dimension of you and me talking person to person. As soon as you feel that you're hearing your animal speak to you, communicate with you, or a fairy, or an angel.
Well, I got a rabbit in my yard I'd like to get a hold of.
Okay. Actually, that's what we learn in dowsing to do, is when the pendulum doesn't work and nothing's work, you talk to the rabbit and you offer him a certain segment of the garden for him and ask him to stay away from the rest.
Don't work that way. I just run out there and he runs away.
Well, you could try the other way.
Okay. Okay, I will. I will. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
So now, now I can kind of answer interdimensional cooperation myself, because your explanation is, instead of the rabbit eating my broccoli and lettuce and green beans, I can talk to this rabbit and say, okay, you can have this lettuce over here, you can have those green beans over there.
Right. And the idea is, though, you actually really have to communicate, because as soon as you get working in the realm of subtle energy, you can't hide. Like in the third dimension, if a politician tells us they're a good guy and you can't see beyond it, then you might believe them. But as soon as you can see energy, you see behind the shield and you see the truth. So if you're talking to the rabbit and you haven't actually connected to the energy of the rabbit, then you won't have any success. And that's where the Merkaba comes in, which is the main point that I talk about in my book, We Are Not Alone.
Now, is that like the Star of David?
Yes. Yes, the Star of David is a Merkaba. A Merkaba is the highest geometric form in all of the traditions around the world. If you go into yoga, which was my background, the symbol for creation has as its center the Star of David.
Now, is that Jewish, because it's the Star of David?
It's only been the symbol for Judaism for the last 200 years, but it does reflect the high philosophical nature of Judaism, which is, to my way of thinking, one of the highest philosophies in the Western realm. I'm Quaker myself, but in terms of comprehending how sacred geometry works, in terms of the Kabbalah and all these traditions, that is, I feel, the highest in the West.
And so once you connect with the Star of David, or the Merkaba, I think you first called it, what happens? How does that help us or transform us?
Well, when you take source, the unmanifest source, however you perceive of it, and you start bringing it down into the realm of manifestation, the first thing it does is, this is straight sacred geometry. 1 goes to 2 goes to 3. That is, source came down and said, I exist, who am I? And then you say, I am this, I am not that. You begin with polarity. When polarity examines itself in either side, that creates the Star of David or the Merkaba. So every form in the universe, when it starts to spin, the Merkaba counter-rotates, the Star of David counter-rotates. It creates a ball of energy, which we know in many disciplines is the aura.
Okay. You brought in some pictures. Will the pictures help illustrate?
The pictures will...
Oh, there we go. We've got one on the screen.
We have an orb right there. And an orb, many people... I took when I was in Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. The life form asked me to take the picture.
So this is interdimensional?
This is interdimensional.
Okay.
Right.
And how do you know...
And that's a Merkaba.
Okay. How do you know the life form told you to take the picture and not your own unconscious or
Well, because
intuition?
I can have discussions with it and I can actually affect energy. For instance, if I do a land clearing and I talk to the cell phone towers and I ask them to please share and pull back their energy field, you'll see actually a difference in the life force energy of the land around it.
And is there any way to take a picture to show the changes, like a
yes, a lot of
Kirkland, is it?
Kirlian photography.
Yeah.
There are many kinds of ways that you can take subtle energy photography, and in fact, I specialize in taking photographs of natural life forms, and I did bring in a number of them. This one that's showing right now is...
it's a beautiful photograph. I'm not exactly sure, but go ahead, tell our audience what it is.
All right, well, this is from a location up in Canada that a friend of mine, Maggie Wilkins, who has a spiritual, works with a lot of the different spiritual groups, took me to. And if you could see it up close, which you can see on my website, I have a bigger picture, you can see about 11 different life forms in there. It's kind of like, do you know the artist Bev Doolittle?
No, I don't.
She does artwork of nature, and in it you can see pictures and faces.
That looks like a very peaceful place.
It is very peaceful, and it has many water spirits in it.
So, and so, what did you communicate with that time?
Well, in that time, that was a place where Maggie used to go in order to get peace when she had a very hectic job. And so I took that, just identifying with her, to take a picture for her. And then when I developed it, we looked at it and we said, oh, look, there are all these water spirits, nature spirits that you can see the faces in.
And the way you talk about nature and spirits is very similar to the way Native Americans talk?
Yes, I've had many Native American incarnations, but if you take any of the philosophies, when they get to the higher levels, they all talk pretty much the same. They acknowledge that it's an alive universe and that we can communicate. Different philosophies might communicate with angels or, geometrics.
And so is that the reason why you call your book We Are Not Alone?
Yes, we are not alone. Many people, when I started teaching, would say that they feel so isolated in modern society. They feel so alone. And I myself, when I moved to the Midwest, my guides were helping me inwardly, and one day they said, so how are you feeling? And I said, well, I left all my friends. I don't have any friends here. I haven't met anyone yet. And they said, well, thanks a lot. And I went, oh, I'm so sorry. And they said, anytime you need someone to speak to, you can talk to us. You can talk to the fairies, the nature spirits. And so I realized then I wanted to tell other people, you're never alone. You always have your guides with you who came to Earth with you. You always have the spirits of your apartment, your animals who can communicate with, your stones.
I had an interesting situation. I went out to dinner and a movie with my cousin 20-some-odd years ago, and then I was going to see this band I knew from New York. Some of the members were friends, and I said, do you mind if I lay down? He said, sure, you can go ahead. And I've been meditating every day for 27 years, at least once, most days twice, and I couldn't believe, I just felt abject terror. And then I connected with a spirit, and what I got was it was a woman who was an old maid and never married. But so I started to come back from my meditation. I go, Sue, Sue. My cousin goes, what? She started screaming. She said, ever since I moved into this place, I said, you got a spirit here. She says, ever since I moved into this place, I've never been able to sleep. And so I said, well, this spirit wants to work with you. And at the time she was single. And then I said, just light some candles, light some incense, commune with the spirit. Well, about 3 months later, she met the guy that she eventually married.
Wow.
And now has 2 children, very happily married.
Yeah, one of the things that I do is to help spirits to transition on. And because what happens is, if you do not know when you die that you're supposed to go to the light, if that's not part of your religious training, and you die but you know that you still exist, then you're confused. You don't know what to do, so you might hang around a house.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're saying about the woman that was hanging around,
right?
That the previous owner. And by the way, she looked up, found out the previous owner wasn't a woman, a spinster that never married. Turns out her fiance died in a car crash like 2 weeks before they were supposed to get married.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, so